How's it going, guys? This is Sean from Untitled Marine Solutions. I'm here to talk about programming Lumitec POCO. So I'm doing it on a Garmin 8600. So I'm going to go to my one helm. I'm going to go to POCO. It's going to pull up our POCO app. So I have another video that shows how everything works in a standard scenario. Like I said, this is strictly programming. So we're going to start by clicking our gear icon, and then we get a pin code. Now we're going to be in our programming mode. So Lumitec POCO system works very well. So you have 4 channels coming out of the device, and each one of those channels has virtual circuits. So as long as the clan is different, you can combine multiple lights on one channel. So I have my underwater lights, speaker lights, rear deck lights, front overhead, rear overhead. Now, my underwater, speaker, and rear deck lights are all on channel 1. Now, my rear deck lights, I have 4 Rail 2s back there. My speakers, I have 14 JLs, but they're all powered off of one Pico C4, all linked together. And then I have 3 Seablaze X Lumitec underwater lights. They're all Spectrums. And then my rear deck lights are all rails as well too. So I wanted to be able to break my deck lights up. Now, if I wanted just deck lights, I could have done deck lights on channel 1, and I could have done channel 2 just for my overheads, which are rails as well. Now, if inside of channel 1 I had some different clans, like, so if I had a Pico P1 and I was trying to control a macerator pump, I could add that on channel 1. I could add another Pico C4 on channel 2 if I was trying to split different, areas of my speakers up into different groups on the boat. But hopefully that makes sense. So as long as the clan is different. Now I'll give you a little bit better explanation of that. So if I go to new item and I give the light a name, my channel, let's say I was gonna pick channel 3. Now, all PO lights, but as long as I pick a different light than what I have on that channel already, it'll operate on that same channel. It'll assign it a virtual channel. Very cool feature, as it allows you to run one wire through the boat for multiple things. So on channel 1, I could add in a Razor light bar if I wanted to, as long as the wiring was up to par. I could add in some Capri or Caprera spreader lights facing backwards. I could add whatever I want to channel 1. You could have multiple different light fixtures on channel 1, and then so you could do some Capreras on channel 1 that are facing forward. Maybe channel 2 still has my rail lights, but I could add some rear spreader lights, and maybe I did another Pico C4 and all my rear speakers in the boat I had on one thing, or maybe I changed my subwoofers to a different color. That's where Lumitec POCO allows you pretty good expandability and programming there. So that's a little quick tutorial there on how to add a new light. Again, so I'd be giving it a light name. I'd pick a channel or auto-identify, and then I'm gonna go in here and I'd say I'm trying to do spreader lights. Now, spreader lights are a dual color, white and blue or white and red, depending on what you had. And then I would click save, and that would add that light in there. Next, you have switches. So OmniLum is a switch, that on-off switch, but as you click and hold it, it gives you a color selection. Now, a quick example of what that is. So when I click on speakers, I click and hold, I get a color wheel, which gives me color fade options, brightness control, white or colors, and I click and select what I want there. So that's that. So I have those for my underwater lights and speakers, front overheads, and every other light in there. Now, what I would be able to do inside of here is select my initial color. So my underwater lights, as soon as I turn them on, I want them to go blue. Same with my speakers. My overhead lights, as soon as I turn them on, I want those white. My deck lights, I do those blue as well. Pretty much everything, as soon as I turn them on, so to give you an example of that, as soon as I turn on my front deck lights, just one click, they instantly glow blue. So then I have momentary lights. So I have basically a momentary mode where my rear overhead light goes white. Somebody needs to get in a cooler, anything like that. I can quickly click and hold a button, and the whole back of the boat lights up real quick. And as soon as I take my finger off the switch, everything turns off. And then I've made different cycle modes, hangout modes, and things like that I've made to where when I click up a certain button, those come up. So after you've created switches, and to create a switch, you'd click on new item, give the switch a name. So I'm going to click green. I'm going to make one deck blue. And we're going to do an on-off switch. And I want my target to be my front deck lights and my rear deck lights. So as you can see, I don't know if that camera caught that good enough. You pull up a list of all the lights, so rear deck lights. You pick the intensity of them, so I'm going to do 100%. I want them on. And you pick a color, and I want them blue. So now, when I go to add an update, I've made a new switch here that says deck blue. Now, I'd make a bunch of those and call them, different things. So in layout, here's where you customize your menus. So I've added lighting, which has everything on one page. I have my scenes, which has those hangout modes, the boarding mode, that rear light up mode I've made. I have different color fades to where I can do just my underwater lights, speaker lights, deck lights, speaker and underwater, speaker, deck, and underwater. And what it does is syncs everything together. Then you have static colors I've made, and this would be just the whole boat. I'm going to make one that says, let's go make one right now actually. So I'm going to make another one that just says blue. Let's see, B-L-U-E, Jesus, finger's not working today. So target, because this one's going to be up to 5 devices we can do. So on my underwater lights, speakers, intensity, 100, 100, 100. An update. So that one's called blue. So we're going to go back into layout. I'm going to go to static colors. I'm going to click the plus button there. Now I have a list of every switch that we've made here. So I scrolled down and I got blue. So now I've added blue there. So now that's going to make my deck lights, speakers, and underwater lights. Everything will turn blue real quick with one push of a button. Kind of a very similar thing that I have in scenes, because in scenes I could create one that says blue and everything would just go blue. Now if I wanted that as well, you can have multiple things in different places, so I can add blue here as well. So when I go to actually use the system, I've got static colors, which everything would be blue, or I can go to scenes and I've got blue. When I click blue there, everything turns blue. And also when I go into static colors, you see this lit up there too as well. So back and forth, multiple pages can hold the same exact switch. So back to programming mode. To add a new menu, you're gonna click this big green add button here, add the title, and I'm gonna say deck lights. I'm gonna click save. And now we have a deck light page. So I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna go to add, I'm gonna scroll down to that one that I said deck color cycle, and then deck blue. So now I could have all my deck lights color cycling, or have them all blue, and I'd make one for red, green, different colors. And then so inside of deck lights, boom, I click that and color cycle. Now all my deck lights are color cycling. Now if I made one that's at speakers, you can add, go on with a list here as long as you wanted to, and have different things. So they have a POCO P1 module where you can control pumps and hatches and things like that. So you could have hatches, you could have pumps, things like that. So you click on that title menu and boom, there you go, you're controlling all your pumps. Now where those little menus like this that you're making come in handy instead of having everything on just one page is when you are in a combo, and you can size this to however you wanted to, but in here I can go and click on my different sub menus. So static colors, blue. Now boom, right away I'm controlling everything. Or in lighting, I have it all set up here too. I can turn lights on and off, click and hold on them right here, change colors. So that's a cool feature there as well too. Back to our app and back into programming mode. Then we have a maintenance tab. We can set a startup switch. So I've made one switch that's called all. It basically toggles a couple of lights that I also have hard switches for to make sure that when I turn on my house battery, they don't go starting up on me. So I have a startup switch that as POCO's booting up, as soon as it does boot up, it switches to off. So it shuts everything off for me. But you could have one set so if you do a lot of nighttime activities generally with your boat most of the time, you have something set up to where I would have, if that was me, I would have selected my boarding mode. So as soon as everything boots up, boom, boarding mode. You don't even have to turn lights on. You may want to do that even if you're going out during the day. You just make sure when everything boots up, it's going to turn everything on, and then you go in there and you turn things off as they're lit up. Inside of there, you'll also get your software updates. So we can do firmware updates from there. You do a configuration file that you download to your computer and put it there. I'd leave that to a professional. And then network. It has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so you can download the app to your phone and control it through your phone. You can also control it through Garmin's Active Captain as well too. You'll actually have a highlighted spot inside of there that says POCO, and inside of Garmin's Active Captain you can go in there and control your lights as well too. As far as wiring goes, again, always leave that to a professional, but it is very simple. We're talking about 12 volt lighting, 12 volt wiring, and basically POCO does the rest for you. It's pretty simple, and programming actually is the hardest part, and I just walked you guys through it, and I think most people can handle it. It is a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.